Maria, I'm so glad you brought up how all of these digital platforms haven't been successful. And I think part of the reason is they're not place-based. As much as we try to do everything on Zoom and across big geographies, again, going back to that principle that change moves at the speed of trust, trust is really built through face-to-face interaction in person in different contexts over time. And that is really good to do at a local level. And that's actually why I'm working on an initiative right now to actually have a physical place where people can meet and work on these issues together. And I think Salson brought that up earlier, like a physical place where people can meet. I really, really believe that that is what moves the needle. And also just really kind of breaking down those feelings of hierarchy between the quote investors and the investees. Maybe one of the things I'm really passionate about is trying to really change our definition of who an investor is. I've been working for 20 years on the democratization of investing, which a lot of that has to do with legal structures, who can legally invest in things outside of the public markets. And we've made some progress in the US. There's actually a global organization called GECA, Global Equity Crowdfunding Association, that is talking about tools across countries that allow regular folks to invest in things that they care about outside of the public markets. And the ultimate goal is perhaps to cross borders and allow people to invest globally. But when we're talking about ecosystem building, I've noticed a lot of people are using that term. I'm an ecosystem builder. I'm an entrepreneurial ecosystem builder. And it's almost becoming something that people wear as a badge of honor. And it's almost, we've gotten to a point where it's a little bit unclear what it really means. And I'm not even sure exactly what it means, but what I think it means is that we're bringing a lot of different tools and resources to the table in one place. And I think when we do that in a geographically limited place, I'm personally working in a city, Baltimore, Maryland. Um, and I think, sometimes even the neighborhood context is what you want to be focusing on. Um, that's where, we're human beings. We evolved over time in small groups, and that's kind of where we can really build those healthy relationships that can lead to the level of trust that can result in investments happening. So there's many elements to a place-based ecosystem to support um, community investment and support for small local businesses and change makers. I think some of so when I first started doing this work, I really focused on, I'm a lawyer, I'm going to do the legal work, I'm going to give people the right legal tools, the compliance strategies, the documents to be able to raise money from investors. But I quickly saw how many of my clients had all the great legal tools, but were not raising money. So I just started to notice certain things that were missing, and I've kind of put them together into a list of things that I think are needed in a healthy ecosystem where capital can really flow in a healthy way that is beneficial to all stakeholders. And some of those elements include obviously support for the entrepreneurs, as we've been talking about at all levels, getting, mindset. That mindset issue is so important, and it's often left out of the conversation. So many entrepreneurs I talk to are really afraid to take money from investors. And so they worry, oh my God, what if I lose the money? And I have to tell them, an investment is money that someone can afford to lose. So, just helping people get more comfortable with being able to ask for and receive investment. That, there's so much trauma around money, both on the entrepreneur side and the investor side, that we need to like unearth and address. And then, of course, the more practical things, accounting, making sure your books are in order, making sure you have the systems in place to be able to serve your investors once they're on board with you. Um, and of course, that legal work to make sure you're not breaking the law as you're raising money from investors. And then flexible capital from diverse sources. So as we discussed, multiple different kinds of tools for investing. And then that democratization piece, I think, is key. If every single person in your community or in the world can invest in your initiative or your business, you have a much better chance of raising money, and you're spreading the risk among a lot of people, and you're also increasing the chance that, to the extent the investment is successful, you're growing wealth among people who don't normally have access to wealth. And then just anything we can do to grow those relationships of trust. One thing we do in Baltimore is we have something called time banking, which is a type of mutual aid network where people earn time credits for supporting each other. But anything we can do to grow that interdependence and mutual support and trust can really, really help with creating that more successful local economic thriving and keeping wealth local. It's all, I believe, I've come to believe after many years of not really focusing on it, I've come to believe that the relationships are the key to all of the rest of it.